Hi guys, in our last video we were looking at how to multiply and divide as well as add and subtract. Well, I gave you a paper that was practice paper. It says problems on it. What we want to do for a few minutes is we want to go through each of these multiplication and division ones and show you how when you multiply and divide them, what you should get and then what you should convert it to as far as significant figures, okay? So we're going to go run through those, and again, try to do these before you watch this video, okay? That way you have some practice, because you know once we get back, we're going to hit this pretty quickly, and then you should already know how to do it because you've seen all the videos on how to do this. And again, if you have any questions, don't forget to contact me any way that you can, okay? Now, the first 6 up here are multiplication, okay? So again, if you're using a calculator, which most of you will, you'll just multiply these out, and then you'll have to convert to the significant figures based upon the rule of those with the fewest sig figs in the equation is what you're going to use. So the first one is 17 times 324 meters, or 17 meters times 324 meters. What you get is 5,508. Okay, that's what the calculator will say. All right. But again, if you look at the answer here, or the question, this one has 3 sig figs, and this one has 2. So my answer has to be 2 significant figures. Well, that would be a 5, then a 5, and then those 2 zeros, right? Because those 2 zeros aren't significant because I don't have a decimal point. And then don't forget, put your unit, meters squared, okay? So that's 2 sig figs right there, isn't it? All right, the second one, 0.005 inches times 8,888 inches. Well, you put it in the calculator, you get 44.44. Okay? Now again, fewest sig figs. This one only has 1. So your answer is going to have to be 40 square inches. Again, only 1 significant figure right there. Okay? The third one here, 0.424 inches times 0.090 inches. Well, when you do the calculator on that one, you get 0.03816. But again, if you look, 3 sig figs, only 2 here. So my answer has to have 2 significant figures. So my answer would be 0.038 square inches. Okay? Remember, those first 2 zeros, those leading zeros don't count because they're not statistically significant. So they don't matter as far as that they're placeholders, right? All right, so then we go to the fourth one over here. 1.7 millimeters times 4,294 millimeters gives me 7,299.8. Well, again, 2 sig figs versus 3. So my answer has to have 2 significant figures. Well, if I put it in 3 sig figs, that 9 turns that 2 into a 3. So 7,300 square millimeters. Okay? Pretty straightforward. Now, the next one is 0.050 meters times 102 meters. You put it into the computer, the calculator, you'll get 5.1. Now, how many sig figs? 2 here, 3 there. So my answer has to be 2. Well, the great thing is I only had 2 in the beginning, right? So 5.1 square meters. Okay? Easy. Now, the last one as far as multiplication, 324,000 centimeters times 12.00 centimeters. Well, here's what you will get in the calculator. 3,888,000. Now again, sig figs. 4 here, 3 there because no decimal, right? So those zeros don't count. It's only 3. So I've got to look at these 3 right here. So when I get done, 3, 8, and that 8 makes that 8 a 9. $3,890,000 square centimeters. Okay? So far, pretty straightforward as far as the multiplication. Okay? Because once you can do the multiplication, all you got to do is figure out which one has the fewest number of significant figures. Now, the same thing applies with the division. It's the same exact thing, except for now, instead of multiplying, we're just dividing. So let's take the first one, 23.4 meters divided by 0.5 seconds. Well, when you do the math, that gives you 46.8. That's what the calculator says. Okay? Now, but again, look at the number of sig figs. 3 versus just 2. So my answer has to be 2. Well, if you'll notice, these are the first 2. That 8 makes that 6 a 7. So 47 meters per second. Please make sure when we actually have the next stuff on this that you always write your units. If you don't write your units, you're not going to get credit for it, okay? Always write your units. Okay? All right, the next one below it, 0.960 grams divided by 1.51 moles. Well, when you do that math out, you get this. I'm going to have to write it down here. 0.635761589. I don't want to write that, do I? That's the great thing, though, with significant figures. I can look at the one with the fewest. This one has 3. This one also has 3. So my answer should be 3. So right here is where I need to look. 0.635. Now again, that 7 makes that 5 a 6. So 0.636 grams per mole. Okay? Pretty easy, right? You just, again, figure out which one has the fewest number of significant figures. All right? 12 miles divided by 3.2 hours. Well, that should give you 3.75. Again, fewest sig figs, 2 versus 3, right? So 2. So instead of 3.75, we're going to have 3.8 miles per hour. Again, pretty easy. And then the last one, 1,200 meters divided by 12.12 seconds. Well, this is what my calculator said. 99.00990099. And I'm imagining that thing goes to infinity. 00990099. Okay? You don't want all that anyway, but that's as far as my calculator would go. I got 4 here, but I've only got 2 here, because those 2 zeros don't count. So my answer has to be 2 decimal places, or 2 sig figs. So 99 meters per second. Okay? Now again, that's multiplication and division. It's pretty straightforward, isn't it? Not that big of a deal as far as figuring that out. It actually works out pretty quickly, pretty easily. As long as you remember the one in the question with the fewest significant figures. Okay? The one in the question with the fewest sig figs in multiplication and division. Okay? All right. So next time we'll look at the addition and subtraction practice problems. Okay? All right.